All right, what's up? What's happening? What's good? What do you do, baby? You are tuned in to another edition of the Why Not Us, Why Not Now podcast. It's your boy X, aka Zay. Government name Xavier. I'm joined by my brother from another, Kory Blackshear, aka KB. Y'all know him. KB, what's going on, man?
What's happening, man? What's happening?
So, before we introduce our guest, I just got to know, and we're going to ask him this question too. Is it feeling like the holiday spirit in Georgia yet?
Nah, I mean, if you want to say like the weather, yeah, it's feeling real Christmas. Like it's cold, it's damp, it's real depressing. But yeah, it's feeling a lot like Christmas. It feels
He's
like next week we should be in store for some good things.
He said it's depressing. I don't see, I'm a little different. I don't think that the cold weather is depressing this time of the year. It's not supposed to be 85 degrees outside like it is in some places like where I am right now. It's
See,
supposed to at least be in a minimum of 50 to 45 degrees. Now, I don't want that single digit stuff. Y'all can keep that stuff up north. Praying for y'all. Y'all can keep that. I don't want that. But like it ain't supposed to feel 85, 90, 80 degrees outside this time of the year.
ladies and gentlemen, I will say as a disclaimer, I am under the weather, so I'm a little biased as far as why I'm not in favor of the cold weather. I'm actually envious that X is in some good weather right now. So that is where my bias comes from, and I'm sticking to that story.
All right. So I will keep my thoughts to myself. With that being said, I do not want to make it feel that I am taking for granted what the conditions are down here right now. But we got a special guest joining the show. Y'all know him. Matt Craig is back in the building tonight. When we first started this podcast, and we say this about every single guest we have, KB, you say, hey, it's not the last time y'all gonna see them. I could definitely guarantee you from day one that it wasn't going to be the last time that we saw Matt. And this is Matt third time on the show. Glad to have him back. Matt, what's going on, bro?
Looking good, man. Y'all boys been doing great. I've been peeping the shows. KB, I listened to I think it's the last episode when you said you didn't want what was I actually it was Kyler Murray, right? You said you wanted Mac Jones over Kyler Murray, and I was just like, KB, what's going on, man? But
Hey,
yeah, I've been
pick it
listening and I'm
too.
glad to be on here.
So, before we get into the topics at hand, how is it feeling in Louisiana holiday wise? Like, is it feeling like things are in the Christmas spirit yet?
Yeah, man. See, the crazy thing about it, yes, for as far as the weather, but it goes up and down. But the weather has been going down a bit, getting more cool. I haven't used my AC in a minute. I just been using either the heat or I just let the whatever the temperature is outside cool the house down. But as far as Christmassy, I live in Natchitoches, Louisiana, so a lot of people may not know Natchitoches, but Natchitoches is voted as one of the top five cities to celebrate Christmas because they have the Christmas festival. And the Christmas festival that they host every year, they start on the first weekend of December, and they run into the first weekend of January. And it's like they do fireworks every weekend, and they got Christmas lights all around the city. They literally got the most Christmas lights. They said I think they got the most bulbs lit for any Christmas celebration in the country. So it's this very small city, but it's known for Christmas festival, and it's actually the first settlement in Louisiana. So it started this year was the 99th year of the Christmas Fest celebration. So I've been feeling very Christmassy all around the city, and the weather's been a bit cool. But yeah, with me being in a city like this, it's hard to escape Christmas because this is the biggest time of the year for them.
Christmas in Florida just feels kind of weird, man. You got people up with the holiday lights and the decorations and everything, but you got palm trees and you got sunshine, and it just feels like the two things don't mix together. Fellas, I was in Miami last week for a state championship for high school football. And don't get me wrong, the holiday lights display, very beautiful. But the fact that it was 85 out there when I'm seeing all of this in real time, like this just feels so unnatural right now.
No, I feel that.
I
I feel. I
need
mean, if you dive deep enough in TikTok, they gonna tell you it's AI.
Well, I can tell you for a fact what I saw last week was not AI, and what I'm driving down and I'm seeing down here every day in Southwest Florida is not AI. But we hope everybody is doing well as the holidays approach. It's kind of hard to believe that Christmas is literally 8 days away. It feels like it just got here super fast. I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that we adults now that maybe it feels like it comes faster, because it definitely didn't feel like Christmas was as fast when we were growing up. All right, so let's get into the topics at hand, man. We got to start down in Miami with the news of the day, especially across the NFL. Tua Tagovailoa is no longer the starting quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. We know that they suffered a terrible loss on Monday night, 28-15, at the hands of the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday Night Football, officially ending their hopes to getting into the playoffs. Now, if you look at the stats, it looks like Tua had a good game. But you have to actually go back and watch what happened out there, because all I've been hearing is he doesn't even look like a backup NFL quarterback after that game. So Mike McDaniel said in his press conference that he was open to having some changes happen at the quarterback position, and that happened today. Quinn Ewers was officially named the starter. They drafted him in the 7th round of this year's NFL draft. Shout out to our good friend Lawrence. We know he's happy about that right now, even though I don't have too many high expectations for Quinn Ewers at this point. If anything, I view it as the Miami Dolphins are going into a soft tank type of position to try to put themselves in good draft position the best way that they can at this point. They're not going to end up with one of those top 10 picks more than likely, but they can somewhere probably still end up in the top 15, I would say. They're trying to put themselves in a position for that. As far as what they do at the quarterback position, I don't know long term. But what I do know is that Tua time is over, because not only was Quinn Ewers named the starter, fellas, Tua is QB3. Zach Wilson is the backup. So they are completely done with him. KB, we'll start off with you, and then we'll go to Matt. Your early reactions on what happened today in Miami.
I mean, honestly, just given the amount of, mishaps that he's had this season, I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. I ain't gonna lie, I think that this move kind of signals to me that, earlier in the season we were questioning whether Mike McDaniel was going to remain the head coach of the Dolphins, even throughout this year. Now it kind of looks like there may be a possibility that he may be back in South Beach next season. It is a possibility, and it looks like they're trying to get a look at what they have, because they know Tua is not the future. And then also with him being named QB3 really doesn't do much for me, honestly, because we all knew that they weren't going to win their division. We already knew that they were going to be chasing and clawing and scratching for a wild card spot, which was going to be very difficult, especially in the AFC with the amount of talent that they have out there. And yeah, he continues, like how he looked the other night. Tua has never played great in the cold weather. I think we've already seen a series of him playing bad in cold weather games, whether that be in the playoffs or even in the regular season. So I was not surprised that they went up there and got trounced against the Steelers. But I look at this move as that they're trying to, like you said, do like a soft tank, but not a full tank, because they still have certain weapons that they, can build upon on their team. I just look at Tua like this may be the start of the end. And hopefully it is, just because I do think that the Dolphins have enough talent to compete. I just don't think that they have the right quarterback right now to compete. And I don't think what we're going to see in the last few games of Quinn Ewers and or Zach Wilson is going to be enough to really make me believe in this team until I see what they do as far as moves to bring in more talent or draft more talent. Other than that, I'm not really moved by this move. I think this was just something that they wanted to see, because the season is technically over. Might as well see what we got. And hopefully we have a backup or a possible bridge quarterback while we may have to wait to get an actual quarterback in the building.
It's interesting, though, because it's like this one game completely just flipped everything on its head. Coming out of week 14, we're singing the praises of the Miami Dolphins, how they pretty much turned their season around. Not that we thought they were going to end up in the playoffs, but they didn't look abysmal anymore for the most part. We're kind of pleased with what we were seeing from McDaniels and Tua, just in terms of being able to get wins. And that was just an ugly showing on Monday Night Football. Matt, you're somebody who has aspirations of wanting to be a general manager in professional sports, preferably the NBA. But I've asked you these questions before about scenarios when it comes to the NFL too. if you were an NFL general manager, what would you do if you were the Miami Dolphins? So I'll pose the question to you here. If you were the general manager of the Miami Dolphins, where would you start with things?
I want to talk about to answer your question. I want to bring it back to Tua. It's a If I was the general manager, let's say to this moment, how I would do things, but leading up to this, I wouldn't have gave Tua the amount of money that they gave Tua, especially guaranteed. Um, and it was kind of like it was kind of shock to them. The first year they gave it to him, he had the concussion issue when he got knocked out in the game, and everybody was like, "Wow!" And then 2 games later, he got damn near knocked out completely, and that's when everybody went into like a media frenzy because they didn't sit him out after he had got knocked out. He stumbled a bit that first game, and they was like it was a back issue. So I would never. That was already a tough situation for him to get the money. With him owing $99 million on the book over the next 2 years, it's crazy, and that's a tough situation to do. But the blueprint is already out there. Denver Broncos. They cut Russell Wilson, owing him a lot of money as well, the biggest dead money cut in NFL history. I'm sorry, and they moved on by building the roster up around him the roster around with draft picks and signings and small players here like Nick Petito got him on a good team friendly deal, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. And then they draft the quarterback, and the quarterback they draft wasn't somebody they thought thought coming out was going to be like a world beater. And to this day, I don't think Bo Nix is a world beater, but he's somebody that can come in, do the job, and get some wins. Now, when they first cut Russ, everybody thought the Broncos were setting themselves back for 5, 10 years, wherever, because that big money hit. And now people don't even mention it anymore because they turn things around. Now they're leading the AFC West. They about to clinch the whole AFC as a whole, the best record, and they did it like in 2 to 3 seasons with Sean Payton. So I say that blueprint's the same. Cause like KB said, they got talent in Miami. It's just they suck at the quarterback spot. Mike McDaniels may not be the correct guy, it was tough. It was harsh criticism and tough at the time. But Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, was right when he was saying that Tua wasn't the guy way back then. And the management picked a side. They picked Tua. I'm not saying they picked wrong by signing with a player, but Brian Flores' show wasn't wrong at that point. So at this moment, they have to follow the blueprint of the Denver Broncos by building out this roster through the draft, building out this roster by signing key players that people may not see as a great player, but you can develop. And the main thing, that's why I'm not gonna say I'm against tanking, but the main thing I say is you have to build a foundation. I don't know if you guys had watched the podcast recently with Max Kellerman and Rich Paul. But on the first episode, Rich Paul talked about there are organizations that win championships and there are championship organizations. And he said, an organization like OKC Thunder, before they won their championship, he said even before they won the championship, he considered that a championship organization just because how it's ran, just because the foundation of the organization, just because how they operate and how they do things. And then you got organizations, and he even said it. He said you got organizations like the Lakers that a championship that win organization, a championship that organization that win championships, but they don't have the championship organization yet. He said it's coming. So I feel like tanking can be good, but in football, more than any other sport, in my opinion, if you don't build the foundation of your organization, tanking can only do so much. You can be the Cincinnati Bengals and get Joe Burrow and still not be good. But if Joe Burrow was in any other organization, like the Baltimore Ravens, like even the Colts right now, what they did with Danny Dimes, like Pittsburgh Steelers, like any school like that, wins will come because they have a foundation. So you can get a Joe Burrow, you can get a Jamar Chase, you can get those players in building, but if you don't have a foundation built within that organization, and then you have nowhere to build from. And I just feel like Miami has to tear it down and build up from the ground up, or they gonna be going 20 years without making a playoff win, or 20 years without even making a playoff. You're gonna end up like they were just saying how the other day how the Las Vegas Raiders got eliminated for the playoffs, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, but the New York Jets. These are teams that, if you look up, have been bad for most of our lives. We are around the same age, most of these teams that been bad since we've been watching football. They have a year or two where they hit, but overall in our lifetime, they've been bad because they don't have a championship organization. And that doesn't start with winning a championship. That starts in the meeting rooms. That starts the way you set the rules up around the facilities. That starts with the standard you set. That starts with the players you draft, the players you sign. It starts there. And I just feel like that's where Miami got to go. And that's how they go get back into a winning ways. But until then, they gonna be right back trying to get a quarterback, starting all over again 5 years from now. They're gonna be benching another quarterback that they drafted this year that they thought was the guy, and now he's not the guy, and they're looking for a coach again.
Here's the thing, though, because you said Denver's the blueprint, and I don't disagree with you on that. Bo Nix was in a rich quarterback class. He was the fourth quarterback taken in his draft. And, you know, the questions are still out when it comes down to Penix, mainly because of his health, JJ McCarthy because of his health, but also just because of some of the things we've seen on the field, too, that we have questions about at times. This is not a quarterback rich draft that's coming up. If Bo Nix was in this quarterback draft, he might honestly be the first or second quarterback taken. That says a lot considering where we were just 2 seasons ago when we were looking at those quarterbacks that were coming out in this draft. But you are right in terms of that being the blueprint. I just question if Miami is the organization that would know how to follow it too, especially under Stephen Ross as their owner. Because like you said, for most of our lives, these have been dysfunctional, bad organizations. The Miami Dolphins, they fall into that category too. We've seen a couple of seasons where they might make it to the playoffs. They've even made it to the playoffs twice with Tua and Mike McDaniel, but we knew they weren't going to go too far. The Miami Dolphins honestly haven't been anywhere close to a championship organization since the days of Don Shula and Dan Marino. We weren't even born when that era was around and popping. So that just goes to show you how far back things go with them. KB, do you think, because you did bring it up though, do you think that Mike McDaniel will be back?
Honestly, yeah. I think that just because of the little late season surge that they had was enough to warrant bringing him back. Do I think he should be back, and whether he will be back are two different things. I think that you need a new regime in there because I think that you have to change the culture somehow. And it starts with Mike McDaniel, then you work your way down to like Tua, then you look at all your pieces around, and then you just try to see like I knew that it was going to be a struggle this year because the pieces that they tried to move, they were unable to move. They weren't able to move Jalen Waddle at the deadline. They weren't able to, move Tyreek Hill before his season-ending injury. So you had a lot of things happen to where they weren't even able to get some of these pieces that are taking up, a lot of their cap space. They weren't even able to move them for assets such as picks to hopefully build their team up through the draft, which is something I think that they were honestly looking at. They were looking at just doing a hard reset because at that point where they were willing to do a fire sale, they had no future. There was nothing going on in Miami. Mike McDaniel was as good as gone. We pretty much talked on the show plenty of times. Mike McDaniel is good as gone, and it honestly needed to happen. Now I think that they're going to possibly give him another chance because unless there are some coaches in the market that you look at as possibly, excuse me, being able to come in and take you from where you are, which is at the bottom in the cellar, take you to the playoffs. Because first step is playoffs. They don't need to even shoot for any aspirations higher than the playoffs right now. Unless you see that kind of coach out there right now, there is nothing telling me that they wouldn't at least entertain the idea of bringing him back. So if I had to say today, yes, I think he'll be back.
I think he'll be back too, just for the simple fact of what you did say right there, because this is also one of those seasons where, and Matt, just correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it honestly feels like we haven't really heard about too many coordinators out there who folks are looking at for those next round of head coaching positions. If anything, what
No,
we've heard more of is who's going to give Brian Daboll another chance, who's going to give Kevin Stefanski another chance. We've been hearing more of that. The most that we've been hearing in terms of coordinator is will Brian Flores get his second shot, and Clint Kubiak up in Seattle. Will they give him a shot? That's it. You haven't really heard about anybody else.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It hasn't been a lot of noise about coordinators. I'm hearing more noise about Marcus Freeman.
Exactly. That just goes to show you, and we know he's not leaving Notre Dame, so we can go ahead and we can put a pin in that one right there. There are some more things that are happening in the sports world too, besides what's happening with the Miami Dolphins too. And the NBA Cup tournament concluded last night with the New York Knicks defeating the San Antonio Spurs by a final score of 124 to 113. And my first question I want to pose to y'all is this: do you think that last night could possibly be an NBA Finals preview coming up this summer? There are a lot of things that would have to go in different directions for that to happen. Matt, let's start with you.
I think on the east side, the Knicks has a chance. I don't think the San Antonio have a chance. Only because they so young. And when you get in those situations like that, you got to learn how to win. And they did beat OKC to make it to the championship. Well, I give them respect for that. But in the 7-game series, when OKC can walk you down, learn your tendencies and things like that, I feel like they'll beat them in the long run. I feel like San Antonio is just a bit too young, and I feel like it's a learning curve that all teams have to go through. The OKC went through it. When they first was really getting together, when they lost to Luka in the playoffs, and Luka made it to the NBA Finals. So it's like I just feel like that you can't teach that experience. And those situations, you really don't know how you go react when you're in a tough 7-game series with a team that's been there before, and it's your first time with those bright lights and the fans screaming the loudest, and the ref letting you play. No, they letting you play more physical. They letting cars go. So it's just like that's my only thing getting them. They got an amazing squad though. I mean, Castle, the Rook they got Hart, and they got Wimby, obviously. They got Devin, they got Fox, they got a lot of players. They got some hoopers, and their coach is fairly new too. I mean, he's on the bench for Pop, but he wasn't there when Pop was really in the trenches, when Pop was making championship runs and things like that. So I just feel like they got a ways to go. I'm not trying to harp on them. I feel like they got a bright future, and they're gonna do good long term. They can stay together. I really contrary to popular belief, I really don't think they should blow things up to go get Giannis Antetokounmpo. I say keep all those young guys together, let them learn, let them grow. I mean, Giannis, MVP, All NBA player, but dropping him on the team to trade all your young guys away to drop him on a team like that, I feel like that's a disservice to those young guys and Wemby. Let them grow together. Let Fox be the oldest guy on that team as far as one of the best players, and see how far he can go with those guys. And then down the line, if you need to move off him, move off him. But let Harp, let Castle, let Devin, let Wimby, let all of them go together and see how they go. Now, to the Knicks side, they have a chance to make it, but they had a chance last season and they got upset by the Pacers. Now, the Pacers was end up being a better team than what we all thought because they almost beat OKC. So I don't know. Maybe we misjudged the Pacers, but all misjudged Rick Carlisle, who I always say is the top 5 coach to me. But they have a chance just because of the Eastern Conference. I mean, who would really be in the Knicks way? I mean, you got Detroit, who's the number 1 seed. They young. And then you got the Knicks. And then after that, you got a collection of teams. You got Orlando. Dan. Hold on. You got Celtics who not healthy with JT. You got the Pacers who at the bottom of the conference without Halliburton. You got the Bucks who suck. You know what I'm saying? It's like who might end up trading Giannis. So it's like the door is open for them to kind of rise above the rest and make it to the NBA Finals. So if you ask me what's an NBA preview, I say on one side of the court, yes, the East, but the San Antonio, they still got a ways to go before they can do it, and it comes down to their youth, and it comes down to the competition they have to go through out west to make it because Rockets are not going to be a pushover. I'm not saying it to be biased. I'm just saying it to be truthful. Rockets, OKC, Denver, those 3 teams, anybody that end up getting those in the playoffs, they're going to have a tough matchup. And then you got a second tier under that. You still got Minnesota, who made it to the Western Conference Finals a few years ago, who's not a pushover. And you got other teams that's out there. So we'll see. But I did enjoy the cup, and I did enjoy the matchups, and I did enjoy the competitiveness that the players played with. It was good to see a nice playoff atmosphere game in December. We don't normally get that. We don't get games like that until, you know what I'm saying, February, March. But to see a teams really play hard and want to win and go out there and give it their all, that's amazing. And I want to end with Wemby to go out there and to find out he lost his grandmother the morning of the game and to still go out there and play. You know, that's amazing, man. That's hard. And I don't know how he did it, but he did it, and it was hard for him after the game. But he went out there and still tried to perform and give his team a chance, and he lost. But still, man, that's tough to do. I can only imagine what he was going through mentally, emotionally, and all those things to go out there and do that in that situation. But overall, I enjoyed the cup. I enjoyed the games, and I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the season to see where San Antonio ends up.
Yeah, first things first, prayers and condolences to Victor Wembanyama and his family. That's absolutely terrible to hear that news, and it was very courageous to see him out there on the court last night. If you saw the post-game press conference, you saw him get very emotional, and he just simply said that he lost somebody today. And, today we learned that it was his grandmother. But KB, before I toss it to you, I got to take a moment really quickly because I'm pretty sure you noticed my face there for a moment because I cannot believe what I just heard Matt say in terms of contrary to belief, he would not blow it up to trade for Giannis. We were just having this conversation a few nights ago in our group chat. Now he's saying that about the San Antonio Spurs, but I asked him straight up,
Different
with
situations.
you, I'm gonna let
Different
KB chime in
situations.
on it. I'm gonna
Different
let KB
situations.
chime in on it just to see where he is on this. I asked him straight up. I said, would you want to get Giannis if it meant that you would lose Alperen Sengun? And he said, in a heartbeat. And to me, that doesn't make any sense because I look at Sengun and I'm looking at his ceiling. And that looks like a baby Nikola Jokic. And yes, I know what Matt said in terms of we don't want no baby nothing. We want a dog. But what I'm saying is that is a future franchise player. And you want to give that up to the Milwaukee Bucks for Giannis, who I know who is still in his prime, but how much longer is he going to be in his prime? And I ask that because these injuries are now starting to pile up season after season. They're nagging injuries right now, but they are collecting. And his offensive game, I'm sorry, but it hasn't expanded into what you need a superstar to be in today's game. He cannot stretch out on the perimeter like you need those players to be. I see Sengun, and he's able to do that. And for the most part, he's younger and he's more durable. KB, where are you on that before you answer anything about the cup?
So it is a case by case thing because, for certain teams, I think that the trade makes sense. When you're talking about somebody like Sengun, you do look at the ceiling. Now, Sengun, when he's on, he could arguably be top 5 at his position. That's not arguing. I'm not even with the deal possibly to San Antonio to pair him with Wembanyama. You have to understand that certain guys that you look as cornerstone pieces of your franchise are going to be asking those deals. And are you willing to pair with those for basically a 31-year-old superstar who has nagging injuries and his game, like you said, has not expanded? Giannis' game is about brute strength, playing a physical style of basketball, which in turn, you do get those type of injuries. So, I think that certain teams, it makes more sense than others. For me, it has to be something where you're looking at winning within the next year to 3 years, or are you just looking at, because you don't make this move if you're thinking long term, because you're going to have to gut your team to get someone like that. You're not looking at long term. You're looking at the right now. You're looking at the present. You're trying to make a move that's like going to alter the franchise. And for teams like I can speak on, like, for the Hawks example, it would make sense to explore Giannis trade, but only if that Giannis trade doesn't include guys like Jalen Johnson. I think Jalen Johnson has worked his way to being an untouchable. Honestly, we're looking at ceiling. We're looking at him being a 23-year-old superstar as opposed to a 31-year-old who has some nagging injuries. Now, some people look at it like, yeah, but Giannis is maybe top 3 to 5 in the league. I understand that, but you also have to look at chemistry. We already have seen teams that have put multiple superstars on the same court with one basketball, and it doesn't work. So I think that it just has to make sense. Um, what team were y'all specifically trying to see? Like, would it make sense to explore a Giannis trade?
So we talked three teams potentially in our group chat. We talked about the Lakers and we talked about what you give up Austin Reeves for him. Yes, in a heartbeat. I don't view Austin Reeves the same way I view Alperen Sengun. We brought the Rockets. I said they would be fools if they traded Sengun to him for him at that point. Because yes, they are in a win right now window. But when I look at the Houston, I look at them in a win right now window with Sengun already there and still having a chance to be in that same window another 8 to 10 years from now, potentially too. And we brought up San Antonio, and we pretty much agree at this point that no, they shouldn't blow it up. A fourth team I want to throw in there, and I want to get both of y'all's thoughts on this because they've been flying under the radar. Now, I don't think it happens at this point since they've won their championship, but OKC is a team that has the assets that Milwaukee would be looking for, where honestly it could end up being a win-win trade if that were to happen.
I'm gonna say one thing real quick before you jump in, Matt. The reason why I don't feel like they would do it now, they have probably more leverage than pretty much anybody else in the league. The reason why I look at them as not doing it, the Clippers draft pick still may be viewed as more untouchable than them wanting to make a deal to go get Giannis, because some people are looking at the potential of whoever could come out of that top 5, top 3 as being the next franchise player. So they may want to just say, hey, you can keep the expensive injury-ridden superstar. We'll just draft our next superstar and we'll just keep it more organic and build this thing from the ground up, as opposed to trying to trade pieces in order to get someone in when we already are the favorites as is. This would just be like, having your cake and eating it too. You know what I'm saying? Like, this would just be more so we can do it because we can, not because we have to. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to make this move to become finals favorites. Like, this would just be a move that would make us more unstoppable, but we don't have to do that. And if we factoring in cap space, salaries, I look at it like you might as well just keep the Clippers pick and just keep building your team with young guys, as opposed to trading for Giannis, who's in his early 30s, but he has had these injuries over the years, and his game, I don't know how well it would mesh with someone like SGA, and no telling how many pieces on that team in that core that you would have to give up to even get him. So that's how I feel about it.
Matt, before you go, let me just say, I agree with everything you just said in terms of them not doing it. I don't believe they should do it. But just in terms of situations that would make sense that Milwaukee would even entertain to be able to get something back in return of value that can help them build going forward, that's why I bring them up.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense from Milwaukee's side. I get them completely wanting to do it. So, yeah, I'm looking at it just more. I was looking at more OKC, like finding issue with it, than Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee has more of a reason to pull the trigger than OKC does. But they also are in two different situations right now. One had just climbed the mountaintop and is looking to do it again and is the favorite to do it again. One has no real idea where they're going. They're not trending really anywhere at this moment. So I get it from Milwaukee's standpoint, but just not OKC's.
So honestly, I would do it if I was OKC. I would do it if I was Houston. I wouldn't do it if I was San Antonio, and I wouldn't do it if I was Atlanta, unless I was trading Trae Young and draft picks. That's the only way. I wouldn't do it if I was saying Jalen Johnson. And I'm gonna say this to say I say all that to say this. I'm gonna start with Houston. Sengun has a ceiling of extra. Just look at it in your point of view. Do you think Sengun can win an MVP one year? Do you think he can even be an MVP finalist? Let's be honest.
Honestly, I do. I'm
I
I'm
think
being
he
honest. I'm being
no.
honest when I say that too.
I agree with you as far as you think. I agree with you as far as you being honest, and I'm saying I don't think he has the potential to be an MVP finalist, in my opinion. So I'm trading a player. Yeah,
Before you go further with this, I just want to ask you, compared to who I compared him to,
yeah.
did you think the same things about Nikola Jokic in 2018 and 2019?
He always had the potential, but when you say baby, that means he a Sabonis. The Sabonis. This has Sabonis showed you MVP in his career.
Matt, come on now. Sengun will be a much better player than Sabonis.
They was
That's
calling Sabonis baby Joker before they was calling Sengun baby Joker.
I don't know who they is that was doing that, but I wasn't a part of that day. So there's that on that.
I'm saying Sengun, in my opinion, has a ceiling, and his ceiling is not an MVP player. His ceiling, at most, to me, is an All NBA player, All NBA first team, and in a damn good year, All NBA second team. But to me, he doesn't see first team or MVP finalist, in my opinion. So I'm trading a player that at most is a all star player, all NBA third team player for a certified MVP defensive player of the year, 31-year player in his prime, drop him on the team. The reason is different between San Antonio and Houston because San Antonio has their superstar in Wemby, and they're a notoriously young team. So I'm not gonna trade a player that's in his 32 years old and pair him with Wemby because Wemby's already going to be a superstar in his own right. So I'm not gonna speed up his process of being a superstar because I'm bringing in another superstar. I'd rather pair him with somebody that's around his age so they all can grow together. So that's why I would do it for San Antonio. When it comes to Houston, I would trade Shingun because we have KD and we're trying to win a championship right now. Not saying San Antonio is not, but they have a longer way to get it more so than Houston because we have a KD who's at the end of his career. Before Fred got hurt, we have a Fred, and we have a Steven Adams, we have a Clint Capella, we have older guys that are towards the end trying to win right now. And Shangun, who could be playing good for the next 10 years, but it's only so far Shangun can get you as your best player, in my opinion. Now you bring a KD in that, you bring a KD with a Greek with that situation. To me, you ready to go. You ready to go win right now. And then to the OKC spot, I would do it just as well as Golden State when it got KD type of thing. It's like, yeah, we did win, but we about to really run it up now. And more so, what was the real reason? Okay, I mean Golden State was able to get KD because Golden State lost to LeBron James, and they said, "Dog, we can't beat this dude. We barely beat him the first time. When he got his guys, he beat us the second time. We can't beat this dude, man. Like we got to get some help." And I say that for OKC is because Jokic, without his guys, was able to push them boys to 7 games. Pacers with Halliburton, not really nobody, not really a lot of help. Pascal, yes, but not a lot of help. Them dudes can't even win the game without Halliburton right now. Was able to push them to 7 games. So they're not an unbeatable team. They're a great regular season team, and they give it to you every night. As far as playing hard and not letting they further pedal, so they're able to run it up during the regular season. But when you get to the playoffs and you slow things down, teams that have like a dominant player, like a Luka, when they beat them, like a Jokic, who was almost able to beat them, and like a team that plays together and well coached, like Halliburton was almost able to beat them. So for me, they not like a team that's untouchable. They can be touched. So I would do it to get a Giannis just to go into that untouchable, one of the best teams all times ranking. And if I had to give up a check, I'm okay with giving up a check. If I still got SGA, I still got Jalen Williams, and I got Giannis. If I had to give up a Jalen Williams and a draft pick, I'm okay with giving that up if I still got an SGA and I still got all these pieces around me. So it's just like the what you giving up to get a player like that to pair with SGA is worth the risk. To me, Chet and Jalen Williams not untouchable when you're talking about a player like Giannis Antetokounmpo, who still is fairly young as far as 31, who could probably pay in his prime in the next 4 years. He's I mean 30, maybe 30, 35 to new 31 in the NBA. Still got Steph, you still got KD, you still got LeBron, and you still got these young guys coming down that's still playing deep into their careers at an older age. Not saying everybody go do that, but like the days where people was washed by the time they was 32, them days are over. Them days, that's not the NBA today. They got got way more technology. They got game management. They sending players out. They take care of their body more. They eat more healthy. So players able to play till 35, 36 and still be elite players. So I feel like these young guys that's coming up, that's in their prime right now, like a Jokic, like a Luka, like a SGA, like a Giannis, go be able to play until they like 34, 35, just like LeBron, KD, and Steph have been able to do, and many players gonna be able to do after them because we're just in a new day and age. So overall, say again, OKC, I would do it. Houston, I would do it. And the only one I wouldn't do it is San Antonio because again, you have your superstar in Wemby, so you don't want to speed up his process by rushing him to win the championship when he can just grow up with the guys he got instead of dropping somebody like Giannis with him and say, "Okay, go win one now," when he's still trying to learn himself.
I want to go back to OKC for a moment because I do see a world where they could do it only if Giannis is still in Milwaukee at the end of this season. And I say that because what if OKC does make it all the way back to the championship, but they lose? Or what if they get in the playoffs and they lose? And mostly they're healthy for the most part. Yes, I could see them deciding, yeah, you know what, let's package J Dub, a draft pick, or Chet, some draft picks, and let's go get Giannis because they do have an MVP in SGA that's there, and you have to capitalize on that window while you have it there. We just agree to disagree when it comes down to Houston and Şengün. You don't view him in that light. I do. I see special things on the horizon for him. I never saw that for Domantas Sabonis. I saw enough of that in Indiana. And I saw it with Sacramento. I knew that he was not going to rise up to the occasion of being anywhere close to what Jokic is. Very special player with a special skill set. But in terms of being able to be that guy, I never saw that with him. I see it in Şengün's future. Now, I could be wrong, but only time will be able to tell. But I want to go back to the cup really quickly, KB, so we can give our thoughts on this. And I just want to simply say that the New York Knicks fans should be ashamed of themselves because they are treating this like it is an actual NBA championship. Am I surprised that they're doing it? No, because we saw how they acted when they beat Boston in the second round. They had the Garden lit up like you would see Yankee Stadium lit up after they win a World Series, but they were celebrating like this after the second round. These are some of the same people who were talking mad trash about the Milwaukee Bucks a year ago when they won the cup, talking mad trash about the Lakers when they won the first cup 2 years ago, and now they out here celebrating like they about to have a parade because they just hoisted the organization's first championship in 53 years, and that's not what this is.
You know, it's funny that everybody looks at it like, something's wrong with someone else celebrating it until it's them. That's pretty much what the Knicks did. Like, the Knicks fans pretty much, it was a problem when everyone else was celebrating winning from years past. Now that they are finally getting the opportunity to celebrate any type of significant championship, if you want to call it that, I look at this as nothing really, because to be honest with you, the way I look at the landscape of the NBA right now is 3 to 4 teams in the West that are really competing for a championship. The East, I look at it like it's just a field of teams that it could possibly be, depending on matchups in the playoffs. It's a field of teams. That's why when I say, even when I look at what Matt said, it is a potential that the Knicks could represent the East in the NBA Finals, but it's a potential that they could not be, depending on who they match up with, because this Detroit team that we see now is not the same Detroit team they saw last year. They're a more physical style of basketball than what they showed last year. Cade has taken a major leap. Jalen Duren has taken a major leap. So you got Detroit right now that's looking really good. You also got to watch out for teams like Miami, who sneak up every now and then, just to remind you that they're there. Cleveland, the Hawks. You have teams that honestly they don't wow anybody, but they play good collective basketball. Do I think anybody from the East can beat anybody from the West out of those 3 to 4 teams that I'm talking about, being Denver, OKC, Houston? No, not even close. And then if you even want to throw someone like the Lakers or the Warriors in the fold, you could. I don't think they're in the same class as those other three, but You could throw them in there if you wanted to, but I just don't see anyone from the East being a real threat right now. Barring any moves possibly being made, it's someone's coming out of the West. Someone is going to win from the Western Conference. But no, it doesn't surprise me that the Knicks fans did this because it's right on cue. The same way that they said that Trae Young lives rent free in that New York lives rent free in Trae Young's head is the same way that they are doing the same thing like with everyone else. It's always an issue until it's your turn. Now it's no issue. Now it's because I guarantee you, had they lost that game, they would have been like, oh, San Antonio's celebrating like they ain't never seen a championship before. So that just goes to show you that people actually care about stuff like this because if you're not used to winning, this is all you got.
Here's the funniest part about what you just said about them saying that about San Antonio fans, too. San Antonio saw their first championship at your expense when they beat you in 1999. That's what's so hilarious about you saying that in this moment. But yeah, man, you got people running around here talking about orange and blue skies and all of this other stuff. No. Here's what I'm the happiest about when it comes down to the NBA Cup. The 530,000 that's going to each of the players because everybody does not have those millions upon millions upon millions. And some of those players could use that money. That could be of great help to them. That's what I'm the happiest about when it comes to that. But I'm glad that the announcement did come out today that the Knicks will not be hanging a banner inside of Madison Square Garden for that tournament because it is not deserved to be hung up as a banner. Banners are reserved for championships. And I know that you have organizations who they'll post when they win divisions and all this other stuff. I'm just of the belief, and maybe it's because of the teams that I'm a fan of, you hang banners when you win championships for nothing else. Everything else, honestly, you make yourself look silly.
Yeah, and I think that's more so like we talked about. When you're not used to winning, you celebrate all your wins, small, large, anything in between. But teams like Boston, teams like LA, teams like San Antonio, you can tell where they are as an organization and what they value more so than anything, and what teams that have not won. Because teams that have not seen, long term success, they don't know how to, deal with this. A lot of those guys have not played for winning organizations. You have to look at it. The Josh Harts, he's played for the Lakers, but they weren't the same Lakers that they are now. Jalen Brunson, he's played for Dallas, but he didn't get to embark on that championship run that they had a couple of years ago. So you got a lot of guys that are, looking forward to hopefully bringing, because like I said, if the NBA will be ecstatic if the Knicks are good and stay good for a long time, because just being in Madison Square Garden, which is still the mecca of basketball, that just shows you that there is something significant about the Knicks being really good. And it's been a long time since the Knicks, Lakers, Boston all have been good at the same time. So, the NBA wants their blue bloods, if you want to call it their blue blood teams and organizations, to be good. I mean, it's more beneficial for them. It's more beneficial for mainstream fan bases that may not know about, the small market teams. This is good for them. So, I'm happy that they're, experiencing the success they have been, not just this year, but the past couple of years. I'm happy for them. But don't matter if you can't bring it home in June. It doesn't matter. This will be nothing more than, looked at as an embarrassment for you celebrating this type of thing, and you fizz out the playoffs in maybe first or second round. You won't be given that respect ever again. So, and especially this year with it wide open, you have even more pressure to win this year because there is no big bad boogeyman in Boston. You don't have to worry about the depth of Boston playing a part. You don't have to worry about, Indiana being real significant players right now. You don't have to worry about Milwaukee. You don't have to worry about these teams that are usually a factor Your biggest hurdle right now is the team that is in front of you in the standings, which is Detroit. Because I'm pretty sure Detroit is not going to let that slide. The fact that they lost to them last year, had to just watch them win an NBA Cup championship. These things play over in their minds constantly.
It's also the fact that Detroit also could have beaten the Knicks in the first round too.
They absolutely could have, and I think the worst thing that the Knicks could do this year is make the mistake that they and think that they are playing the exact same team that they played last year in the playoffs. Detroit is. I've seen it with my own eyes. These guys play some of the most aggressive defense that I've ever seen. And it helps that you got multiple guys that you can throw at Jalen Brunson and Cat. So if you neutralize their two biggest stars and you make the complementary pieces like OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, if you make those guys beat you, I don't like their chances. I think those guys are good players, but I don't like their chances. If they don't get what they get from their two stars, their two superstars, I don't see them winning in June. I don't even see them making it to June.
I mean, that's very likely, and I can see that too. Matt, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like y'all have to separate the fans from the team, though. Like, the fans are nauseating. The fans are annoying. The fans are the orange and blue skies, Stephen A. Smith, celebrating this like a championship. They are annoying, and they are the ones that should be getting this vitriol. But the teams, like, it's okay for them to celebrate that they won, though. We won't guys. Not saying y'all not saying that. I'm not saying y'all not saying that. I understand that what the fans are doing is too much. So I don't want to like I'm misconstruing what y'all saying. I agree with what y'all saying. The fans are doing too much, acting like they won a championship. But we want players to care. Like that's the whole thing, right? We want players to come out and play hard. We want players to treat the regular season like a real regular season. We want players to stop game managing. We want players to go out there every night and compete. We watch the All-Star game and complain that they don't care. They just BS it. Like we want, like if the players played in the All-Star game the way they played for the Cup, people would be ecstatic. You know what I'm saying? So like these were some good intense games like that. That OKC and San Antonio game was a playoff game. This San Antonio versus Knicks game was like a playoff game. You know what I'm saying? So these are games. So they worked hard. They played for it. They want to celebrate. So I'm okay with the players celebrating and being happy that they won and popping champagnes and holding up the trophy. It's like it's because they went out and did that. Like, would y'all rather them just like win and then just go straight to the locker room and don't say anything? It's like we want them to be happy about their championship, but. And I say the same thing about when Lakers won. I said like every year, the team that wins gets this same thing. Like, why y'all care? It's just the NBA Cup. And I think it's more so they just happy they won. That's all I think. I think it's just happy they won. Like when the Lakers first run, people was talking stuff about the Lakers. When Giannis was winning, when he was like winner chicken dinner, people was calling him lame and saying that was lame. But they was calling him lame and saying that they should be happy. And now the Knicks won and they just happy that they won. I feel like that's okay. I feel like that's a rite of passage. You worked hard, you played, you the last team standing. Celebrate that. The players that's getting paid $500,000 just got their whole salary in one weekend. That's commendable to be happy about. Now the fans on the other end, they doing a lot. They doing too much, if I must say. They are nauseating. Orange and blue sky, Stephen A. Smith, they doing a lot. But the players, man, if they go out there and win a game and play hard, I mean, they giving us what we want. We want people to play hard. We want people to take these games serious. We want people to take games more serious than only the playoffs. So I feel like they giving us what we want, and then we turn around and say, y'all doing too much.
No, I'm not saying that about the players. I'm mainly saying that about the fans. But I will say, I don't want to see the organization unveiling this as a championship banner either. It's
Oh no,
not the
that
same
shouldn't
thing.
happen. That shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen.
And thankfully, the Knicks said that they weren't going to do that. That's simply all I'm saying with this. My vitriol is simply directed at these fans because it's
Yeah.
like, especially when it comes down to an analyst who is a fan like Stephen A. Smith. You talk all that hot garbage about the Dallas Cowboys and how they celebrate wins in October and they celebrate wins in November and they haven't been to a Super Bowl or an NFC championship in 30 years. The Knicks ain't been to the finals since 1999. They hadn't been to the conference finals prior to last year since 2000. They haven't won a championship since Sanford and Son was still on the air every week. So let's just pipe down. That's simply all I'm saying in terms of that when it comes down to the fans. Also, something else, and I do think Knicks fans need to be nervous about one thing, though. Y'all have noticed that the first two teams that won the cup, they went through a lull for about a couple of months after that, right? You notice when the Lakers won the cup, they went through a lull. The Bucks won the cup, they went through a lull. And this was before they were majorly being impacted by injuries. So let's just pump our brakes on that too, and let's just hope that the Knicks aren't about to go through the same thing. I don't think they are, because the Eastern Conference is relatively weak compared to what we see out west. But that's something that I think we should be on the lookout for. Now, KB, you brought up Cleveland as one of those teams in the East. I don't think so. It's been a very disappointing year for the Cavs. And I didn't expect to see that from them after I watched them down here in training camp at IMG Academy. I saw a deeper team. I thought that, okay, Cleveland's going to have a chance to compete for the 1 seed once again, and they'll take advantage of it this time. Not seeing anywhere close to that. There's still a lot of games left, but it's something that's going on in there.
I'm not going to lie to you, X. If we're going to be fully transparent, I was just trying to name some teams. I don't have no confidence in Cleveland either. It's like, but really, that just goes to show you that the East is not as loaded as the West. So it's just kind of like me rattling off some names of some teams that are talented, but they don't really have it all together. I could name Orlando, but that doesn't mean I necessarily believe Orlando is going to be a championship contender. Toronto, you know what I'm saying? Like teams that probably have played good at certain points, but I don't see them being real championship contenders. I think as far as the East, the championship contenders in the East go as Detroit and the Knicks. Until someone shows me something else that just jumps out at me, I can't put anybody else from the East in that same realm, just because I don't know if they either have the depth I don't know that they can sustain this level of play that they're playing at right now. A lot of the landscape would change by the trade deadline. I think we all aware that certain moves could possibly alter a lot of franchises' direction where they're going, not just this year, but probably for the next 5 years. We look at it like we're talking about Giannis. You got guys like Anthony Davis that are also possibly on the move. You have guys that are flirting with trade rumors, such as like Trey Murphy. He's also another, or Trey Murphy or Herb Jones. Those are guys that could possibly be on the move. You know, you have certain teams that it looks bleak right now, but that's also because they're not complete yet. Now, hopefully we'll see something develop probably prior to the trade deadline, but I think by the time that the trade deadline does hit, we'll know more about who is really in line to compete this year, as opposed to who is, just giving up on the season completely and just preparing for the lottery.
Fellas, let's shake it up a little bit. Let's go to some quick hitters here really quickly. Buffalo Bills going to New England and beating the Patriots in a major comeback win on Sunday. And I got to tell y'all, and you're probably going to think that this is a bit premature on my part, this win and how the Buffalo Bills came back and the fight that they showed in that game and how Josh Allen has played for most of the year, it finally helped me figure out my teams that I am picking for the Super Bowl. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills and the Los Angeles Rams. Y'all probably might not agree with that, but that's where I see it going at this point, because maybe I'm just looking at Buffalo and I'm just saying, if you don't take advantage of the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are not going to be in these playoffs this time around, you just might not end up getting the ring with Josh Allen after all. I'm looking at the fact that Drake May has not been here before. Bo Nix is still in his second year, and he hasn't necessarily looked that great at times, even though he did play a good game on Sunday. It's a different AFC. And even though right now they would go in as a wild card team, because of who they have playing at quarterback, I would simply give them the advantage for that. What do y'all think?
It's not a crazy take. Based on what you just said, the AFC is not as stacked as it has been in the past. Don't have Lamar Jackson, you don't have Joe Burrow, you don't have Patrick Mahomes. the teams that you got there that are winning. Bo Nix is a young player trying to make his deep playoff run for the first time. Drake May never made it to the playoffs. And then you got other young teams. You got C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. So it makes sense to pick the Bills at the AFC because of experience and who Josh Allen is and who the players they have on that team. And then in the NFC it makes sense as well. I mean, overall because the NFC, the Rams been the most complete team all year. They got the best record out there. They could lose it this week if they lose to Seattle, but if they beat Seattle, they're gonna lock up the 1 seed and they're gonna be the best team in the NFC. So I can see how you come to that conclusion. The only thing I would say about Josh Allen front is that I know a lot of people are saying like, and I get it, y'all saying that like, hey, if you don't get it this year, you ain't gonna never get it. Patrick been knocking you out the last 3 years. Joe Burrow knocked you out 1 year, yada yada yada. So this is your this is your first and best chance to get it, because you don't have these people in your way to make it. And my only pushback to that take, and like I said, X not the only one saying it. I've been hearing it all week. My only pushback to it is this is kind of the worst team that Josh Allen has had in his tenure outside of like his first 1 or 2 years in Buffalo. Like once they transition into a team that can push for championships, this is probably his worst team that he had in that era. You know what I'm saying? So this is I seen somebody say it on I think ESPN perfectly. This is like this is his best chance to make it without Patrick and them being his way, but this is the worst team he got to make it with. Like when we talk about talent on the offensive side, you got James Cook, but outside of James Cook, you got your offensive line is shaky. You got a decent offensive line, but you don't have any weapons on the outside at all. Keon Coleman has not lived up who we thought he was going to be, and outside of Keon Coleman, who else are you throwing to at the receiver spot? And then you got Kincaid, who's inconsistent at best. Some days, he can say he's on my fantasy team, so I keep up with him daily. Some days he give you some touchdown passes, but when he give you catches, he's giving you 4 catches a game with a touchdown and 60 yards. He's not giving you volume. He's not giving you 10 catches a game, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's giving you 3 or 5 catches at most, 60 yards to 80 yards at most, and 1 touchdown. He's make a, like a big impact tight end. And so outside of that, he don't have a lot of options on the offensive side to really help him carry the offensive load. And then on defense, they defense been giving up points like crazy. Like he barely beat the Patriots. he had to score 35 plus to beat the Patriots because defense gave up so many points. And then the game before, not too long before that, the defense gave up a lot of points. So it's just like, I get what y'all saying, and I agree with it. This is his best chance to make it because of the guys that were before him are not before him right now. When we talk about Joe Burrow, we talk about Lamar Jackson, we talk about Patrick Mahomes mainly. I get that, and I agree with that. My only pushback for it is the team he has is not the best team he has had in this opportunity. But granted, the caveat and all that, you still can't let Drake May, C.J. Stroud, Bo Nix make it farther than you. That's the only thing. That would be like outside of all that. That would be like we get it, Josh. But if those guys make it, it's gonna still be a bad look at the end of the day. And my AFC pick is actually going. I'm going with my team. I'm going with the Houston Texans. We're gonna be a wild card. Jacksonville probably go lock up the division, so we're gonna be a wild card. We gotta go to roll, but I think we have a suffocating defense. I feel like CJ can do enough on the offensive side. We got a decent weapons. We lost our running back for the year, so we've kind of been mentioned back in running backs. But I feel like we got a good chance. I'm not saying to be biased. I'm saying to be honest. But yeah, just to your Josh Allen point, and them, that's all I got for a quick hitter.
I'm not convinced that Houston's going to be a wild card yet because I don't think that Jacksonville has this division as locked up as everybody else thinks. They still have a matchup left against each other later this year, and it wouldn't surprise me if Houston ends up winning it and that helps them win the division. I do believe that both of those teams will be in the playoffs, and Houston is playing great football right now. And I'm going to go ahead and announce something on this podcast now before we hand it to KB to give his reaction to my pick there for the AFC and NFC for the Super Bowl. Matt, I am officially off of the argument of Bryce Young having a chance of being better than CJ Stroud. I'm officially done with that argument. CJ Stroud has won it hands down. I thought that there still was a chance considering how shaky things started out this year with CJ, but Bryce is still very inconsistent. It is a question if Carolina is even going to make the playoffs. They had a golden chance of taking the NFC South lead for sure on Sunday when they went to New Orleans and they lost to the Saints. So I'm officially off that. CJ Stroud, he is QB1 when it comes down to the QBs in that draft. KB, your reaction to me saying that I got the Bills and the Rams?
Yeah, I still got reservations about the Bills, namely their wide receiver core and their defense. Their defense hasn't looked dominant at times this year, and their wide receiver core scares me more than anything. Their leading receiver is Khalil Shakir, and he leads the team with 650 yards and 4 touchdowns. That ain't good enough. Because now that means you're asking Josh Allen to put on his cape every single time that he steps out on that field. And we have seen times this season he's not able to do that. Now, I'm not saying that they are incapable of making plays, but they have to do it on a more consistent basis for me to trust them. As far as the defense, they did step up when needed in that comeback win against the Patriots on Sunday. I just need to see, like I said, more consistency long term. Now, on the other side of the coin, the Los Angeles Rams are definitely my pick for the NFC. Like them taking on a juggernaut in that Detroit Lions offense, which I put up there, as one of the best. Them being able to slug it out with them on Sunday and come out that game. I mean, Matt Stafford, he's my MVP. I mean, I've been with him and Drake May pretty much back and forth this entire season. I wasn't going to be mad if either one won, but I just think that Matt Stafford, he has solidified himself this year as the MVP. I think he's in line to put his team at number one in the NFC West, which, you know, we've seen now the NFC West is by far the best division in football. You have a possibility that you will see the San Francisco 49ers, Los Angeles Rams, and the Seattle Seahawks in the playoffs. That's a very, very good possibility. Um, that's not to diminish anything that's going on in the NFC North because we also know that the Green Bay Packers are still up there. We also know that the Chicago Bears are still in play. Um, I just think that right now, if I had to put a pick out for the AFC, honestly, it would still probably be the Patriots. I just think overall, even though they don't have the experience. Sometimes without having the experience, you really have nothing to lose. There are no restrictions on anything that you do. You're playing with house money because you're kind of exceeded expectations. Now there's really nothing for you to do except go out there and play with no type of any like you're playing more free, I feel like, than a team like the Buffalo Bills because with the type of things that are on Josh Allen as far as being able to get over the hump, you don't have a Pat Mahomes to get over this year. The most that you may have is a Denver Broncos team that looks really good but struggles offensively. You may have a Houston Texans team that, and Matt said it. I think Houston is actually one of the dark horse team for me. Not because they're dark horse in the terms of they're not good, but that defense, I think that defense is by far either number one or number two. It's interchangeable, but if you put them at number one, I'm not mad. If you put them at number two, hey, show me a number one that's better. Because honestly, we've seen them take out Josh Allen out of the game. We've seen them affect him in ways that many have not been able to. So I picked the Patriots because I do think that Drake May, he is a little bit wise beyond his years. I think that he has a calmness to him that can get it done. I think he does have the outside weapons to get it done. I think that he also has the defense to back him up in case he's not having the best game. See, that is the thing that I think that they are the only team that I feel like they have about as much balance from the offensive side to the defensive side. I don't feel like that with every other team. I don't feel like that about Denver. I don't feel about that with Jacksonville. I don't feel that way with Houston all the time. It's just like I don't feel that way about them consistently enough to feel comfortable putting them in that picture. Now, with Buffalo, do they have the talent to do it? Yeah, absolutely. I just haven't seen it enough to warrant me putting them there. You did mention something about Bryce Young, and I do need to touch on that. if he does not, if they don't win this division, they have no one to blame but themselves. Because once the Falcons beat Tampa Bay and they took sole possession of first place in the NFC South, we just talked about being online. I saw some of the craziest comments from Panthers fans who you would have thought were gone, like, disappeared into the abyss. You would have thought they were never heard of ever again. Because honestly, this just shows this is a terrible division. This is absolutely a terrible division. No matter if you're a fan of the Falcons, the Saints, the Bucks, or the Panthers, this division is garbage. You have Tampa Bay, who is leading this division with 7 wins. And honestly, X, they could have less wins than that. They really could. We've watched some
Yeah,
of these games.
yeah. Yeah,
It's just the
I
truth.
just gotta say, in terms of what you said, there's an argument that this team honestly should only have 3 to 4 wins at most. And I'm saying that as somebody who has sat in that press box at Raymond James Stadium on Sundays and watched this team play football. They could have lost to the New York Jets. They did lose to the Philadelphia Eagles. They did lose to the Falcons last week. They could have lost to the Falcons in week 1. So yes, absolutely.
And to tie all that together, this honestly, just because of how bad this division is, this would be one of those years that if they said, you know what, y'all aren't getting anybody to be able to represent your division in the playoffs, I wouldn't be mad at it because it's almost like they're not trying to win the division. Because I honestly could see Tampa Bay or Carolina getting absolutely smoked the first round by whoever they play. I have no confidence in either one of them, honestly, at this point.
And remember, I said it last week. The only way that the Bucks are going, in my opinion, it's not going to get better from here. Even if they win the division, you look at long term, it's not going to get better because the pillars and the heart and soul of that team are Mike Evans and Levante David. And I told you last week, I think in 2026, I think that is the final season for them. And I think they're going to walk off into the sunset together, whatever that looks like. And I'm not so sure that it looks like it's going to end up being something that ends up in another championship. I don't even know who their coach is going to end up being at this point. But yes, to your point, this is a terrible division. But unfortunately, somebody has to win it. Speaking of that, let's get to the team that is in fourth place in this division right now, and that would be the New Orleans Saints. And although they have had an abysmal season, is it safe to say that at least for another year, possibly two, that they have found their quarterback in Tyler Shough? Matt, you're down in Louisiana. How are folks feeling about Shough?
I tell you what I think. I tell you what the common belief is. What I think, Tyler is a bridge quarterback. He's good to hold you over until you find a guy. I don't think that guy. I don't think they should use their top pick in this draft. I'm not saying Tyler's top pick because he wasn't, but I don't think they should use that top pick to get another quarterback. I think they should definitely go build that team up and get some more talent over there, and then work towards that. And I tell you that Tyler himself is a decent. He's playing better than what people thought. He's actually playing one of the. He's actually one of the better rookie quarterbacks right now. If we being honest, he has the most wins as a rookie quarterback. With only being 3 wins, which is sad. But he does have the most wins as a rookie quarterback, and he's and a lot of people bashed the Saints when they took him in that draft. But he's playing better than expected. But I don't think as a whole that Saints Nation, Louisiana as a whole, is sold on Tyler. Maybe another year, and we'll see how he do next season. But I don't think he's a long term answer. And I think the first opportunity they get to get somebody else who's at a higher caliber, they'll take it.
KB?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. It might sound crazy, but I feel more comfortable with him than I do with Spencer Rattler. Um, I think that he's shown things in a few of these games that he's started that shows that, like, even if you are looking to bring another quarterback in, possibly in a couple of seasons, you are at least comfortable enough with him that you could say he's shown that he can compete. He's shown that he can go out and win you a game. So for me, I think the Saints have a lot of problems. I don't think quarterback right now is their biggest problem. I think they got a lot more things to address just from, different position groups that they need to address. One being wide receiver. I think that they could use some more outside weapons for, a young guy like Shough. I think that he would be, in a way better position if he had, more weapons from outside of Chris Olave, outside of, Juwan Johnson. I think he needs more help, if anything, because we've seen some really average quarterbacks look really great just based off of the weapons that they have around them. I think that I think that you can build from because like Matt said, when he was taken, it was a lot of stuff that was drawn because a lot of people believed that the Saints at that point should have took Shador. I think that they got a guy that can actually he can play. We've seen that. I'm gonna be as unbiased as I possibly can because I've seen him play. I've seen the throws that he's made, and honestly, I don't think Spencer Rattler could have made those throws. That's just me seeing both of them play, seeing, the type of talent that they had around. And really the biggest concern to me is what's going to happen with Alvin Kamara. Like, I know that, he was, unavailable and he's been unavailable lately with, I think it's an injury that he has.
Mm-hmm.
But with him getting up there, racking up these injuries, what's going to happen with him? Because we've seen his usage over the years. He's taken a lot of abuse. He's taken a lot of hits, lot more than he probably has needed to. But do you think it's time to move off of him and possibly look at building, getting some picks back to help the young guy?
Okay, let me push back on that and simply say this. How do we know they haven't tried to move off him, but their asking price was just too high at this point?
That's a fair point, but I think now with his injury history, you're not getting what you would have gotten maybe 3 seasons ago, maybe 2 seasons ago. You have to be realistic about where he is right now as a player. He's still productive, but he is not that same Alvin Kamara that we've seen play, be the league leader in all purpose yards. He's not that same guy anymore. He's taking a beating, and his injuries are not like with him getting older. The amount of usage that he has because they rely on him so much in the pass game and the run game, it's only going to be one of those situations where you have to be realistic and understand this is not because you got guys like Devin Achane. He has more trade value right now than a guy like Alvin Kamara. Younger, more explosive. I think he can do more. But I think that the Saints have got to, be realistic with their, asking price. Or I mean, I guess the alternative would be to keep him, but you have to be realistic in what you're asking these teams for because he's not the same guy anymore.
Look, I'm with y'all when it comes to Tyler Shough. He has made some nice throws. He has shown to be more serviceable than Spencer Rattler. I guess I just feel a little indifferent about it because I saw him play up close just a couple of weeks ago here in Tampa Bay. And I believe my gripe about the whole thing honestly wasn't about the plays that Tyler Shough was making. It was more so how bad Tampa Bay's defense was playing. That's what I believe I was paying more attention to. But I do believe that, as Matt said, he's a bridge quarterback for the time being. Can he develop into a franchise quarterback? We'll see. Guys who we believe will be a franchise quarterback. Fernando Mendoza, his name slipped me there for a second. He won the Heisman Trophy. He's set to be the #1 overall pick in this upcoming draft. I'm not trying to make a comparison to him to this person to I'm about to say, but I would say the way that he kind of came up out of nowhere this year to where we are now, guys, his rise, honestly, it reminds me of Joe Burrow in 2019. Nobody expected Joe Burrow to be what he was in that 2019 season. I'm not comparing the seasons they had. I'm just saying in terms of what Joe Burrow accomplished in terms of winning that Heisman Trophy, becoming the #1 overall pick, also winning the national championship as well. It remains to be seen if Mendoza will win the national championship. But him winning the Heisman Trophy and becoming the #1 overall pick, that was not on anybody's bingo card coming into this season.
I like Mendoza. I do. He doesn't have like as far as what you're saying, as far as coming out of nowhere win the Heisman like Joe did. I give you that. As far as the player that Joe was, I'm not saying you're saying that, but he's not close to that. Joe was a dog. One of the best statistical seasons for a quarterback in college football history. Joe was a dog, and he had a lot of weapons around him too. So it added to that. So shout out to Joe. But for Mendoza, you know, what won me over with Mendoza, and like I said, I tell people all the time, I'm not the college expert. I lean on those who I believe are. I'm not the guy that's going to watch every single game. I'm not going to dive into every single draft board. I'm not going to know the ins and outs of every single program and players. And I'm not going to know that. I just watch the games, and what stick out to me sticks out to me. And what I see is what I see. I just say it how I see it. I don't really go around. I do the study and I do all that, but I'm not deep in it like somebody that would know that has to cover it day in and day out. They're gonna know more about the game than me, and I commend them from that. So I lean on people like that for information. I just watch the games, and when I see it, I see it. And Mendoza, the game that did it for me, and I know people gonna say it already, was the Ohio State game. Every moment you thought they was gonna get that game, Mendoza put them away. Every moment you thought they was gonna get a stop, Mendoza made a play, and it was just like I was watching the game, like, damn, this boy is nice. Like I've been hearing Mendoza all season, but I was just like, this boy is nice, and I was just so impressed the way he handled that moment, the way he handled that game, and the way he was able to come out victorious and come out with that win and do that for his team and for the program as a whole. I was just very impressed with that game. For me, it's all about moments, and for me, it's about what jumps out on the screen to me. I just have I do the eye test a lot. I know some people don't like the eye test. I do the eye test a lot when it comes to college athletes. And for me, it's when you see it, you know. And for me, when I saw it, I knew. Not saying he's going to come to the NFL and be a superstar. Not saying he's even going to be a franchise player, quarterback. I don't know that yet. I had to watch more about him. But that game was the game that I was just like, dang. If anything, that probably was his Heisman, quote unquote, Heisman moment. But who I think he's going to translate into the NFL, I think he's going to need help. Like any other quarterback, I don't think he's a. I think he's going to be a game manager. I don't think he's going to be a game changer, as Cam Newton would say, as somebody that can come in and just make it around, do whatever was around him. I think he's going to need help. I think he's more of. I think he's more of the first round overall pick. He's more Jared Goff than Matthew Stafford. Let's say that. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I think he have a good successful career if he's in a good situation, and he'll be able to take advantage of that. But shout out to him. Congrats on winning the Heisman. Wish you the best, and let's see what you do in the playoffs.
You don't have a team for him, but I do, and you already know because I already gave the passing to receiving combo that I think that we will see next year because I believe somehow they're going to get the number one overall pick, and that is Mendoza to the Raiders. I think that Brock Bowers finally gets his quarterback, and we'll see how things end up shaking out there. I don't know who the coach is going to end up being on that team because I'm just not convinced, Matt or KB, that Pete Carroll is going to be back. I'm just not sold on that at all. KB, your reaction to Fernando Mendoza and his Heisman moment?
Yeah, I think that the voters got it right. I think he's shown that he's the best player. And honestly, this was one of those years, and no disrespect to Mendoza at all, but it felt like one of those years where usually we didn't have a true standout moment or a standout star from college football. Usually it was just this year felt like it was a collection of guys that could have possibly, won. I think that, you know, Mendoza's team success also played a factor into it because he did something that a lot of people I don't think would have been able to do. He made it cool to play for the Indiana Hoosiers. Indiana Hoosiers ain't been a football school in I don't know how long. I couldn't even tell you the last time they were a great football school. He made them a destination now for a lot of recruits that actually want to follow in his footsteps. So, I look at it like his signature moment was the comeback win against Penn State for me. That was the one because everything was working against him, and for him to lead that drive to eventually get them down there to win the game, that showed it for me. Honestly, what he did against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, that also was another signature moment for him, just because he took out a team that a lot of people thought was unbeatable. He thought a lot of people had Ohio State, running the table and going undefeated through this entire season, just because we haven't had any real, like I said, standout players. And I'm gonna touch on something that Matt said. I heard him talk about Joe Burrow, LSU. If he were to go and win the national championship this year, it would be, to me, more impressive. The reason why I say that is, as great as Joe was as an individual talent, he had NFL stars surrounding that entire team. That entire offense had NFL talent around him. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. You had Clyde Edwards-Helaire. While I do say that Joe Burrow's season statistically was more impressive, I'm not gonna disrespect that. I'm saying the feats that he would accomplish being the underdog. No one expected this. No one even thought that this was even going to be in the realm of possibilities for them to even be ranked number one, let alone take out Ohio State along the way. They beat Oregon along the way. They beat Penn State along the way, even though Penn State had a down year. So he's beaten some of the country's best, and he's looked good. So do I think that the voters got it right? Yes. Do I think that he'll go to the Raiders? The Raiders will be a good possibility. Another team in the market that's looking for a quarterback, also New York Jets. I could see it. I could see it. I know you're shaking your head over there, X, but I think that Garrett Wilson deserves a guy that can get him the football. I think that he deserves somebody that's it's not gonna, cause him to, get frustrated at the coaching staff anymore. So we got to see if Aaron Glenn will even be the coach, because I do think that he'll get more of a leash than Pete Carroll will. But I'm interested to see, because this is not a quarterback-rich draft for teams that specifically need a quarterback, such as Las Vegas and New York Jets. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure, because with Mendoza going to Las Vegas, outside of Brock Bowers, I'm not really sure what his weapons are looking like there either.
So the reason I was shaking my head about this whole thing is not because I think that it would be a bad fit for him to go to the New York Jets necessarily, because we'll have to see how they build this team around Aaron Glenn going forward. I do believe that he'll be back next year. It's for the simple fact that I believe that the Jets are somehow going to end up getting an upset victory within these next 3 weeks. I don't see the Raiders winning another game this season. And I know that Tennessee is probably the team that actually has the number one overall pick right now. With what is going on in Kansas City right now, it would not surprise me if they beat the Chiefs on Sunday, now that Patrick Mahomes is not in the picture anymore. And we're going to touch more on that in part 2 of the Why Not Us, Why Not Now podcast, in terms of what's happening with Kansas City and how the dynasty, at least this version of it, may have to come to an end. But we'll be back with part 2 in just a moment. X and KB and Matt coming at you. We'll be right back.